AD, you've been in post for a couple of weeks now. How have you found it so far?
Yeah, it's been a really interesting couple of weeks, to be honest. A bit of a whirlwind before that. I think I was in my house and sitting in the garden, and then suddenly 3 hours later I was on the road travelling up to Rockcliffe. So it hasn't been a moment's peace, if I'm being honest. But it's been great to be back in, to meeting everybody. Everyone's been really welcoming around the club. Everyone I've met in around the towns that I've visited has been superb, and obviously they're really passionate about their club, and it's been great to see the players firsthand. Obviously I've coached against quite a lot of them over the years, and it's been good to get in amongst it and meet everybody.
You mentioned there that it was a bit of a whirlwind when you joined the club. Can you give a bit of an insight into how it all came about?
Well, I think as Rob's spoken about, we had some meetings, and we had a coffee. We had a 4-hour coffee that turned into lunch, talking about many things, about our journeys in coaching, the playoff final, unfortunately. We talked about that quite a bit, and the tactical elements that went into the game, and we just had a really nice conversation. But we've known each other for a few years. Obviously there's been that respect between each other, and it just went from there. We had a couple more meetings, and then there was a bit of wind that something could happen. Obviously there was a bit of interest in Rob at that time, and then very quickly it became apparent that obviously he was talking to Middlesbrough and this may happen. I was actually in Cyprus, I was away, and there was a few messages and calls going on, and then when I came back I met him and Kieran, and it sort of went from there. It was just getting Rob sorted obviously first, and then me and H coming in as well. So yeah, an interesting process, I'd say.
What sort of qualities does Rob and the club have that convinced you that this was the right step for you?
Well, it's always a club I admired. I've always admired the owner. I think he's one of those people that you look at and think it'd be lovely to meet him, and now I've met him. He was actually exactly how I thought he would be. Obviously he has a ruthless streak like everybody does who's that successful, but really honest man, loves his club, and I think the qualities of the club, it's a massive club, and I suppose the challenge, the challenge of trying to be part of a staff and players that could get Middlesbrough back to the Premier League. That's the ultimate goal, and so I'm quite excited by that. I think I could see the potential, the quality of the playing squad with Rob. He's just a really, really good human being, as good as I've ever met, I think. He'll give everything to players, to staff, to make them feel comfortable. So it's going to be really interesting to work with him. It's only been early days, but I can always see those people qualities that he has. And I think he's going to get everybody engaged in the project, and that's the biggest thing, really.
When you look back at your career so far, you've had long-term spells with success at Chelsea and Coventry. How important is that long-term sort of vision in terms of creating success?
Yeah, look, you can have different paths. Some coaches, very good coaches, work at 6 or 7 different clubs. Doesn't mean they haven't done a good job. They just move around. I was just somebody who, I'm pretty loyal, and obviously you'd like to think that you've done a pretty successful job. Development and first team is very different. You win tomorrow in development is one of my sayings, but first team you have to try and be successful. Luckily I was, and the club was. So yeah, hopefully that brings a little bit of calmness. Like a fine wine, I suppose, at the moment as you get older. Maturity is part of a team, but I bring a certain quality, Harry will bring a different quality, Rob brings a different quality. So hopefully the three of us moulded together, we're all pretty excited about it all, and hopefully it results in the end goal that we all want.
About a week into pre-season now, what have you made of the standard in training so far?
Yeah, there's obviously some really talented technical players. Obviously I work with some very, very good midfield players at Cov, and the lads here are equally on that level. So, technically on the ball, super. Some real characters. They're quite a diverse mix. Very, very young group overall, I would say. A lot of energy. So, yeah, I've been really, really pleased with what I've seen. But obviously it's early days and where we want to take it to. In pre-season is all about building through the weeks, and we've got obviously a great week now here in Portugal. We hope to be further ahead than we were last Friday, and if we are, then that's good, and then it starts building into all the friendlies coming, and then we'll soon, before you know it, we'll be at Swansea, and that's what it's all about.